Hello, I'm going to tell you how to render right clicks, or rather, receive right clicks, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what the right word would be. Connect to right clicks, probably. So, with a normal Q push button, it's pretty simple and straightforward to get the click. You just have to put Q object, connect the object you want to connect to, the signal, or in this case, just a normal click, and then a lambda expression of what you want to happen every single time it is clicked. So for this one, it just says clicked like 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, etc. You get like the gist. So that's for a normal key push button. That's pretty straightforward. That's for left clicks only though. What if you want to get like right clicks too? Like at right click, I can ask Copilot or whatever. I'm on Visual Studio 2022. This is going to be basically the same if you're using Qt Designer. I prefer Visual Studio 2022, whatever your choice is. So we can't just get the right click. What we're gonna have to do is, you don't have this in Qt Designer, but I'm gonna show you the source file. You should be able to, if you scavenge through your files, your Qt file, which would be in File Explorer or whatever platform you're using files. And so I'm just gonna scroll down to Q abstract button, wherever that is located. It's right around here. So if we scroll down, we'll notice the clicked function. It's saying it's creating a Q signal, and it emits this whenever it's clicked. So public, if you already know about object-oriented programming in C++, public means anything can access it. Protected means that children can access it, but outside members can't access it. And in here, we have the mouse press event. Now, we want to be able to access that, but we can't access it outside unless we override it. So, what we're gonna have to do is override it. And this is Q abstract button, not just Q push button. So you can do this for any type of Q abstract button, which includes basically all the buttons. I'm gonna open Q Designer, which I think would include push button, tool button, radio button, checkbox, command link button, dialog button box. Not completely sure about that. I know it includes push button and probably tool button, but it's abstract button. Didn't look into the details, and mostly just covering Q push buttons here. So I created this file, bind button, because it like binds it to right clicks. So we have the constructor. The biggest part about this is, it's when you're overriding the Q push button, you're making it the object. It's not like a wrapper or anything. It's not like you're taking like your ordinary object and then wrapping it so it can do special stuff. You're creating a new one that can do special stuff. It's hard to edit the old. It's rather easier to just create new. So there's a constructor, and you can set the parent. So for its defining. So we have the protected part here, which is overriding the old parts. So we have mouse press event, and if we go back to Q abstract button, we have mouse press event, and it has a Q mouse event. So if you look at the documentation for that, there are some properties on it. You can find what button was clicked, and so I'm just checking whether it's right button, left button, or middle button, and it will procedurally emit the right function. And there's also the mouse release event, Q mouse event. It's also pointer. A lot of pointers in C++ will, I don't know what I'm saying there. Never mind. It will also accordingly emit the functions false if it was released, true if it was clicked. So we create this. I'll put this in a file in the description where you can access it. I'll go into more depth about how we can use this. There are multiple ways you can get binded buttons in your workspace. One way is to use Qt Designer. I'll go into that a bit more later. Another way is if once you have the binded button header file initialized, which if you're using Visual Studio, which goes into the header files category. And if you're using Qt Designer, you just create a new file, a header file. I don't really know how to use, Qt Creator, sorry. I don't really know how to use Qt Creator. I don't care much for it, but if you do, that's great. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a binded button. I'm going to call it button 3. And I'm going to say equals new binded button. I don't really have a constructor for it. I could compare it. I can parent it to UI.main, whatever I called it, UI.central widget. Probably what I called it. So now I have another binded button, and you can connect it and do all this. I don't really care about that. You can use that, but if you're gonna create like a grid of some sort, like I'm trying to work on Minesweeper right now, so I find that very useful. I'm a beginner at Qt. It took me a while to figure this out, so I hope this helps you, but I'm going to show you how to create it in Qt Designer. So we have this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to the buttons and we're going to drag one in. Oh, my bad, closing them. We're going to drag one in. We're going to like make it whatever size you want, set all its properties, autofill background, style sheet, just add like, we're just going to make it a little bit fun. We're going to make a background, color, add gradient, let's make it check. And then we'll add a normal color, that's like text color of pastels. And then we'll add a font. We just have to add font. And let's see, script MT. That looks interesting. Underline it. Size 10. Okay. And now we have this interesting looking button. So check, whatever. It's an interesting looking button, and it is of class push button, Q push button, but we wanted a binded button. So how do we do that? Right click it, when you scroll down, promote to. So I already created one, so what you're going to do is you're just going to, if you don't have one yet, you're going to hit base class name, Q push button, or Q abstract button, whichever one you want. And then you're going to name the promoted class binded button, and you're going to leave the header file just as it is. Now ensure global include does. I just keep it on. Anyways, I already created it, so I'm not going to do it again. You try to add, and then you click it. Once you've added it, you click that one, and then you hit promote. And so now it says bind button for the class name. So we're going to rename this to check button. Don't know why they have check as one of the gradients, but it works. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to do binded. Actually, I already have this lambda set up, so I'm just going to put this UI.write button with UI dot. We're going to save this first, my bad. Control S. Always remember to save it. UI dot check button. Now it's going to be mad at me because it hasn't recognized that we created it yet, since I just made this. It's right there, check button. Since it doesn't really check the UI file until every single time you load it. So it's like, if we go to the error list, it's going to say has no member check button, but that's fine because it actually does. So we're going to hit local Windows debugger, or if you're in Qt Creator, however you run it. I don't really know how to use Qt Creator. So we're waiting for it to load, and it's loading. It's loading. It's building. These things don't go too fast. And we have loaded, and we have the push button and the right click me. So the right button is right click me, doesn't work anymore. Click me is going to make it clicked X times. So click, 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 click. This one, it renders releases and presses. So if you can get rid of that part, but if you want to keep that, you can add a bool, whether it was pressed or not. Bool pressed, and then we can say if pressed, then okay, then we hit Control S, and we have this neat little thing. So it only is gonna render the render's probably not the right word. It's gonna only recognize. Yes, that's the perfect word. Recognize the click if it's being pressed down rather than up. So before it was doing it both times. So if I clicked it, right clicked it once, it would say 2 times, and that was just messy. And 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Works perfectly anyway with this one. So, yep, that's how you do right clicks, and I'll be putting this in the description, so make sure to check that. Thank you, and I hope you learned something. Bye.